Hey guys, we are going to take some notes today. You need your notebook and you need some pens and pencils. You need at least 3 colors. All right, set your notebook up to say the demographic transition, and we are going to make a graph. So you need to have space to draw this out. The video is sped up, so you may need to pause, but you're going to make your y-axis birth, death rates, and total population. And as always, the x-axis is time. All right, the 3 variables that we are going to be plotting are total population over time. This could be society, world, this is just general total population. And we need a color for births, birth rates. Make yourself a key. And you need a color for death rates. All right, here we go. We are going to be separating and looking at the change over time in different societies of these 3 variables: population, birth rates, death rates. So we're going to have 5 different sections. We're going to have stage 1. We're going to have stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. Your book and online has various names for these stages. We're going to keep it really simple and just call it stage numbers. And then we'll give some definitions for each of these. Okay, so I'm going to pause it right here because this is what we're going to be looking at. We are essentially going to be making a model of the shift from high birth rates and high death rates in a society to low birth rates and low death rates and an increase in population over time as part of economic development from a country. So this is what our graph is going to look like. And we're going to go section by section by section. Okay, so at any point, if you need to pause, by all means, go for it. I'm recording this in one take because why not? So you may need to pause so that you can get yourself set up. But we are going to be doing the demographic transition. So let's get right into it. All right, here we go. So for thousands of years, the world looked like this. Really high birth rates, okay? Families were having children, lots of children, but there were also very high death rates. Many of those children were never reaching adulthood. Life expectancy, living standards were low, no hospitals, no medicine. Life was just basically hunger, disease, war, deaths. It was pre-industrial. Poor medical health care, no access to birth control, really high infant mortality rates. For thousands of years, the earth existed like this. All societies existed like this. Okay? I'm pausing. Okay. So for thousands of years, the human population stayed relatively low. All right. So our next stage, which is stage 2, is the idea that something has shifted within a society, whether that means that it's not just an agricultural society where there's people are farming and then eating, and then there's high birth rates and high death rates, that there is some kind of development within the society. So people can start selling their food, and then there's a little bit more of an economy, which means that food is less scarce and there's less famine, there's higher living standards. So the death rate starts to drop drastically. What happens though is that birth rates remain high. Really high birth rates means that the total population is going to increase. Okay, so my red line is my total population. My green line was my death rates. Death rates went down. Something shifted. There was some kind of industrialization, but people were still having lots and lots of babies. So death rates declined, improved medical care, food production, and the population starts to grow rapidly. So this is stage 2. It's a transitional stage. All right, stage 3, death rates continue to drop. There's modern medicine, the full advent of modern medicine happening here in this society. And now, here's the big shift, birth rates start to drop as well. Okay, we call this the epidemiologic transition because there is modern medicine, there is low death rates, and there is low birth rates. They're starting to drop. There is the availability of modern medicine. Okay, now there's not an economic need for families to have kids to farm land. They also are realizing that they're not going to lose all of their children, so they don't need to have as many. So this is stage 3. Industrialization creates job opportunities. Couples have less children. Females start to become educated, and birth rates fall closer to death rates. So this is an industrialized nation. We could think of this if we're thinking about it over time, the Industrial Revolution, or the advent of a society gaining access to healthcare. Here's what's still happening though. Population continues to rise, okay? And it continues to rise into stage 4 until it just starts to level off, okay? So if stage 3 was when the population is increasing, but at a decreasing rate because the fertility rate has fallen, people having less kids and advancement. Stage 4 is post-industrial. The focus isn't on manufacturing anymore. It's on service industries like finance and healthcare. And birth rates and death rates are so low that there is no longer a steady increase in population. There's gender equity, there's living standards are the highest they've ever been up until this point that we've been talking about. And Western industrialized countries, this is happening all over the world. So there's not really any countries in stage 1 anymore, but lots and lots of countries are in this post-industrial world where birth and death rates are low. The population has stabilized, but it's still much, much higher than a pre-industrial society. And the industry no longer really supports growing population. So the population starts to level off. So this is what we're looking at. Oh, here's my snake. I'm going to go back. So let's take a look. This is what our final graph should look like. We have in this society here, very high birth, very high death, low population. Thousands of years the earth existed this way. Human population existed this way. With the advent of some kind of change, some kind of industrialized change, whether that's medicine, whether that's education, whether that's the advent of inventions like the steam turbine, something has shifted, causing death rates to drop. It takes a while for people to adjust their birth patterns when they get down, when they realize that they are not going to lose all of their children, they don't need to have them to be working in their farms, then there's going to be a drop. That's called the fertility transition. And eventually the two start mirroring each other low in total fertility and death rates. Population has risen at this point. It's much higher than it ever was, but it is starting to level off and even decline. So that's the demographic transition. Okay, there's a theoretical stage 5 with countries like Germany and Japan where the population is actually falling. But this is a concept that's as much biological as it is economical. So thinking about like what do the societies look like in terms of the economy, and then also what are the social standards in each of these societies as they progress through them. But like I said, there's very few countries that are just like a few small groups that are in stage 1 society. There are lots in stage 2. Stage 3 is really We're looking at a developed nation that is on its way to getting to post-industrial. And then if you think about the United States as being in stage 4, we are in still a growth pattern, but it is a negative growth pattern. So it's increasing, but it is not exponentially growing. And so it's starting to stabilize. Okay, so that's where we are. The main thing I want you to have in your notes is a picture of this graph, and you can go back through the video to each of these stages. Stage 1, pre-industrial. Okay, so each of these stages has some bullet points, and you can jot them down just as ideas behind each of the stages. And that's that. All right, try to keep it really short. Try to keep the videos short, but do our best. All right, if you have questions, we'll talk about it in class next time.